Hi, welcome to Derek Does. Today, we're doing this. Hi, welcome to Derek Does. Today, we're going to talk about these, which are Doc Marten boots. I haven't done one on Doc Martens. I picked this pair up actually at a thrift store a while ago, but I thought I'd just kind of show you Doc Martens, give you an idea of what they are, kind of how they fit, how they wear, that sort of thing, because I know you've probably heard of them throughout your life, and you've maybe even had a pair, maybe you've seen them, or maybe, I don't know, who knows. But this is a pair of the 1490 Doc Marten boots in black, and these are used, of course. This is a made in England pair, so this is like the original. I don't believe Doc Marten really makes their boots anymore in England except the originals, which I actually ordered a pair of the 1460s in the oxblood, and I'll show you a picture of that. And so I ordered those because I really want a pair of Doc Martens. I've never had the boot. I've always had like Doc Marten shoe, because they actually make a shoe, which is a really nice, it was a cool shoe. It was a brown shoe with wing tipped, but they had the Doc Marten soles on it, and it's very comfortable. And I'll get into that a little bit too. But let's talk about this first. This is the 1490, as I said. This is a 10 eyelet boot, so it's a little higher boot than the 1460, which is an 8 eyelet, so it's probably about 2 inches shorter. The main thing about Doc Martens are they're always leather, but I think they have like a vegan one too they have today, but for the most part they're all leather. They come in the black and the oxblood, which is kind of a red, and then they have like different specialty colors out there too for it. For the most part it's usually a black boot. The classics are, at least. And they have this special sole they invented, which is the, what they call it again, the air cushion sole, which is, actually has little air pockets in this rubber that they form. This pair has been a little bit used, you can see that. It's not awful. I mean, it still has tread, but it definitely is worn, but totally have tons of life left, and they're broken in just perfectly. This pair, I could not find the actual size on this pair, but I wear like an 11 and a half, and this pair fits me with just a little bit of room, so I'm thinking these were maybe a size, they're a US 12. Now the thing about Doc Martens, and this is something that you're going to want to know, lots of things actually about Doc Martens, but the main thing is sizing. The sizing is English because the boots are made in England, or they used to be. Today I think they're made in China. This is actually an English made pair of boots. So these are the boots you want to find. If you're looking for Doc Martens, look for the English made boot. Don't get the Chinese made boot, because it's just not going to be, it's not Doc Martens. It's a Chinese copy of Doc Martens in my eyes. It's still Doc Martens, but it's not, it's like Converse, you know, when they're made in India and they're made in Vietnam and they're made in China. That's not a pair of Converse. Converse should be an American made shoe because that's where they originally were made for decades. Same with Doc Martens. It's an English made shoe and they should be made in England. Anyway, that's just me going off. But this is, again, it's the 1490. And the things about Doc Martens to look for, make sure this one is pretty worn, but it's still, again, like I was saying, really good. They always use this orange thread, which kind of sets them apart so you know they're Doc Martens. Now they do make boots that have black thread and white thread and stuff like this, but the classic, if you want the classic, and I'm usually about the classic, the original, is a black pair of Doc Martens with the bouncing soles and yellow stitching. Now it can be 10 eyelets, it could be 6 eyelets, it could be 10 eyelets, 8 eyelets, whatever you want, but it should be a boot. But again, I can't wear Doc Martens, and I'll get into that too. So I thought I'd just kind of show you, and I'll get some close-ups of Doc Martens, and then I'll get into kind of my personal stuff on sizing and fit and that sort of thing. But again, these are made in England, and they're English sizes. So English sizes are always, if you're in the US, is always 1 up. So if I'm an 11, I want to buy a size 10 Doc Martens. If you buy a size 12 Doc Martens, if it says 12, it's really going to be like a 13. Let's take a closer look and I'll show you the boot, and I'll talk a little bit about sizing, fit, and that sort of thing. All right, so here's the Doc Martens again, a little more close up. You can see they still have tons, they're nicely broken, and they have this little, I don't know what the actual name of that is, where the ankle is, where it does that. it just shows you that this boot is a nicely broken in, but it's not just abused. You know, it's not weather, it's not even really worn away on the leather or anything like that, which is really nice. If you're buying a used pair of boots, obviously there's a little bit there on the heel, but that's to be expected. And of course, most of this would be covered with your pants anyway. So this part, when you're buying a used boot, usually it's always pretty nice on this part of the boot. And the toe's really nice. And you can tell on the heel. See, this doesn't bother me. It's a little smooth. Actually, the heel's pretty gone there. But it still has a lot of sole there and a little bit there in the heel. It's just how the person walked before they had this pair. And I actually threw this pair up on eBay because they're just a little too big for me. There you can see it's made in England, and then it has the Doc Martens and the air balancing sole, and they call it the original. It has the yellow stitching all the way around, and then has pull tabs with your air wear and with bouncing soles. It's a pretty simple boot overall. It's like a combat boot for the most part, or any boot like that. It's leather here with the leather tongue. Again, has the 10 eyelets going up. This is the 1490. The 1460 would have 8 eyelets. You can see this pair matches the other pair just perfectly on wear and everything along that nature. Those are Doc Martens. So a little bit of the history of the boot. It was invented by Doc Marten in 1946. He wanted to invent a shoe that'd be more comfortable for people with foot problems. And instead of having a hard rubber sole, he invented the air cushion sole. Then a couple years after that, they started making them, and people with issues were buying them. And then later they put an ad out, and I guess that ad went out, and people started buying them, and it became a real company. And by the 60s and through the 70s, it was huge. And you've seen these boots, you know, worn with skinheads and everybody like that of the English, and then eventually they came to America, and I think about the 80s, and that's when everyone, at least I knew, started to get into Doc Martens. As to fit on Doc Martens, as I said, they're English sizes, so they're always one size up from what if you're a U.S. person would wear. If you're England, then if you're a size 12, you're a size 12. If you're a size 12 in the U.S., you want a size 11 because they're one size up, like I said. Doc Martens never really fit me well on the boots because Doc Martens, for some reason, and they're not adjustable. You can't like order different sizes. They're for people with bigger calves than I have, bigger legs. So whenever I get a pair of Doc Martens, and I don't have like, I've got thin legs, but I don't have like tiny legs, there's always room. Even if I lace them, you know, together, there's room. And that'd be great if I was shoving my pants into my boot. They would fit great, but I don't usually do that. So Doc Martens for me on boots, and I've had a couple pair, always have this issue. And this pair had the same thing, because I thought about, oh, I could just wear thick socks with these and still wear them. But I'm having that issue with, for some reason, the circumference for the leg is different than like most boots. You can normally you just like lace them further out if the boot's too thin, but for some reason this one is not that. So anyway, that's at least with this. So you have the sizing, you have the fit, at least on the boots, of the calves for me. Another thing which I think they've resolved, because I originally wanted a pair of Doc Marten shoes, and it was a brown wing-tipped, really cool with the Doc Marten soles and then the stitching, and they're really comfortable. But when I ordered the size 10s, they were too big. I think it was too big. And in Canada and in England, they make a half size, but they don't make it for the American market, at least at the time. And this was would have been the late 90s, maybe mid-late 90s. I wanted the boot or the shoes, and I couldn't get them, and I had to order them from Canada because they had half sizes, and then I had them shipped to the U.S., and then I could wear them, and they were fine, and they fit great, and I loved them, and I wore them out, really. But those are a couple things about Doc Martens. They're kind of different than most boot places. Usually like if you get a Red Wing, or if you get anything like more commercial like that, that's, you know, I'm not talking Wesco or white boots or anything like that, but like more universal boots that you can find pretty much anywhere. They have half sizes, and they have different, you know, you would have like this type of boot, but with a thinner area for people with thinner legs, maybe, I guess, for it to fit. But Doc Martens don't, they just have the one size. I had ordered from England, actually, the Oxblood 1460s originals, which were made in England still, and they were like reproduction boots, basically, of the classic 60s Doc Martens. And I had those shipped in, and I had the same issue. They didn't fit around the calf right. They're just too loose. I think the soles fit me fine. The actual footbed was fine, but the rest of the boot was just too big, and I didn't wear them because it was just like that. Now I've gotten Trickers, and I don't have any issues with those, because, and they're an English boot maker, but for some reason they can make a boot that more fits the person than Doc Martens. That's just my own personal thing. I love Doc Martens. I wish I could wear them, but they don't make a boot that actually fits me. But that's what it is. So I thought I'd do just a quick video on the Doc Marten, because I had a pair, and I thought I'd kind of show you what you would get if you got a pair of Doc Martens. Of course, if you bought a new pair, it would look brand new, and it would not be all creased and everything. It would look very, very nice and crisp, and then you could break them in yourself. But they do take a little bit of breaking in. You would think that these would break in pretty easy, but I remember, at least with the 1460s I had, they did not break in as quick as I thought they would. So it is a pretty heavy-duty boot if it's made in England and it's a solid pair of Doc Martens. So if you find an old pair, an old stock, get them, because you may like them. And maybe your legs are a little bigger than mine, so maybe they fit you a little better too. You should totally try that. I love them. I can't really wear them. That's Doc Marten. So anyway, so I thought that you might like this for Derek Does. If you like this sort of content, please subscribe. I do a lot of different stuff, and like if I pick up something cool like this at a thrift store or something like that, I'll show you, because not everyone gets a chance to see the Doc Martens, at least a used pair too. So please subscribe, like, comment, and appreciate that. And I will see you on the next Derek Does.